Hey, welcome to the Duke Woodwork Podcast. Today we are talking to Taylor McMaster. Taylor is the founder of Dot & Company, where she and her team help digital marketing agencies keep their clients happy and keep agency owners focused on what they do best with full service client account management. To date, her and her team have helped dozens of digital agencies free up their time to prioritize the moneymakers in their business, while her and her team ensure the client experience is smooth like butter. She is also the host of the Happy Clients podcast, where she interviews top names in the industry, diving deep into what makes clients happy in the agency world. And she is on a mission to change the way agencies manage their clients for the better. Taylor, good to have you on.
Thank you so much for having me. I've been so looking forward to this.
Definitely diving into a topic that I think is until it's not overlooked, because it's one thing that you sent through and I thought it was hilarious, and it's true. It's in life, you can't get rid of taxes, you can't get rid of like eventual things, but in business, specifically agencies, there's one thing or one person you really can't get away from, and that's your clients. And not that you want to get away from your clients, just put it out there, but I just thought that was hilarious, is that you really can't get away from your
Yeah.
clients because they are the lifeblood of your business. But talk to us a little bit more about why Dot and Co, why you built it, what was the need, and what were the beginnings looking like?
Yeah, that's such a great question. And honestly, it's one of these stories where it's like a mix between what I was really passionate about and what I was really good at and
Mhm.
what the market needed. And they kind of blended together into creating a account management specific business. But back a number of years ago, I was starting my own agency. I had clients, I was doing it all. I was project manager slash strategist, copywriter, graphic designer, social media manager,
Tech wizard in the
everything.
background too. Yeah.
Yep, I was the Zap wizard, like doing it all. And I realized that there were certain elements that I was really good at, which came naturally to me. And it was building relationships with clients, making the client feel heard, making that client feel like they are my favorite client on
Mhm.
earth and that we were best friends. And that was kind of the vibe that all of my clients would say. They were like, yeah, like the marketing's great, we're getting great results, but like it's you, like we like building a relationship with you. And so
Mhm.
I realized that I didn't necessarily want to build this big agency of services and go and get tons of clients and try and replicate myself in that sense.
Mhm.
I wanted to do what I loved, which was account management.
Mhm.
It's what I had always done in my career. And it was something that I was like, you know what, I'm just going to lean into this. This is what I'm passionate about. And all the agency owners that I was connected with in masterminds and whatnot, they were all looking for account managers, and they
Mhm.
were looking for people that could actually step in and get them out of the day to day. And it wasn't a junior account manager straight out of college, it wasn't a VA, it wasn't just a project manager. They needed someone who could actually talk to their clients. At the end
Mhm.
of the day, they were like, the only way that I can actually focus on my business is if somebody can actually get on the phone and talk to my clients.
And represent you in a way, right? In like a positive way where you feel confident, because there is that I would say sinking weight in the bottom of the ocean. Like they talk to you, the clients are ecstatic, and then they talk to someone on your team who may not be you. That's like sometimes a risk, sometimes a scary risk, right?
Yeah, exactly. And as an agency owner, your clients are your like most important asset, right? They're the people who are paying you, they're keeping the lights on, and they are trusting you and your team, but really you as the agency owner to drive results and to get them the marketing results that they're looking for. And so I just realized that okay, if I can just come in and work in a couple agencies and work remotely and do what I do best inside these agencies, that would be so fulfilling for me.
Hmm.
And so I started to do it. I started to build SOPs and processes and figure out what this role really looked like. And it was a few months into kind of contracting myself that I had so many people reaching out that were like, can you come and work in my agency? Can you help me? And these were like big agencies or small agencies and everything in between. And I was like, okay, if I could just figure out how to replicate myself or at least train people to think the way that I think, then this would be really cool and we could help a lot of agencies. And so that's kind of where Dot and Co started. When I started, I didn't have a Dot and Co business name. I didn't have, a business plan. I didn't have any of that in place. All I knew was that I loved account management. And I realized that if I could find other people like me who love this stuff just as much
Mm.
as I do, we would do good work. No pun intended. We would be able to step into an agency and wow them and do a really good job and create this space that would skyrocket an agency and make it so much faster for them to get out of that day-to-day seat or scaling their agency, because all these agencies, 100% of my clients have tried to hire this role in the past.
Mm.
And it's one of those roles where it's you post the job and you go through the interviews and you're like, this person seems great, and then it doesn't work out, or they get
Mhm.
poached, or they
Or there's a
leave,
risk, a high
or
risk to do it on your own.
yeah, there's such a high risk. And all of the clients that we now work with have tried it, and some have worked out, some haven't. That's kind of why they come to us. But now we can actually say, look, all of these people are people that I would hire. Clearly, I hired them.
Mhm.
And now you get them in your agency and like tomorrow. And it's not like you need to go through this entire process of training them like I have. Like, you literally get the person that I would trust in my business. And it's so fun speaking to agency owners who are like, I just don't know how to even start this process. And I'm like, listen, I've done this before. I can do it again. And all you have to do is meet with one of my team members. And yeah, long-winded story, but that's kind of how we landed here.
No, I love that. It's I mean, the value add is like a plug-in, like plug and go type deal. But I think just to dissect this, because the reason I wanted to start there, and then we'll lean into retention strategies and ideas around that. But the reason I wanted to start there is because I think a lot of people are there have a really good passion for doing X, Y, and Z. Hey, I'm really good at video editing. Hey, I'm really good at creating live events. I'm really good at writing. I'm very good at creativity. I'm really good at. They're really good at something. But I think this goes back to what is it, the Igaki Japanese life purpose is that it's your talent, what you're actually good at, and that you've practiced over time. Because this wasn't by accident, right? You
Mhm.
were an agency owner, you did it. So you developed that talent, but you also loved a specific aspect of that. But you married that to a business purpose, a need in the marketplace where people would pay money to solve that problem. And I think you can look at it as a four quadrant or a trifecta, but those things overlapping, I think it's important to we always have what I love, what I'm good at, but then also what is the business case? What am I actually solving there? And I think it's important because you are solving an important problem. I remember for my agency as well, that was 2016. Same thing. All these clients running everything and then identifying what am I actually good at here instead of running everything. Maybe running an agency is like a prerequisite to building other things in life, right?
Right.
Maybe if
And
you're listening to this, consider maybe you should start an agency, see how that's like, cut your teeth, and then figure out what you want to do.
yeah, start an agency, wear every single hat you could ever imagine, and then see what you're really good at. I love that.
I mean, hey, why not? But one of the things that I'm very interested in, why I'm very excited to have you on the pod. Anytime I look at growth or growth strategy or working with clients or reviewing, there's typically three tiers when it comes to revenue. There's obviously the acquisition model where you revenue acquisition, how you get clients break even at a cost, at a loss, or at a profit. And that's obviously a lot of agencies solve that problem, a lot of marketing directors, CMOs. But the one thing that I don't see talked about a lot is revenue retention and unlocking LTV with clients. And I think you've nailed it on the head. It's both relationship and results. You got to get the results and the relationship. But I think when it comes to retention, there's all these different pillars. There's increasing LTV, time spent with clients, upsells, cross sells, downsells, different opportunity, win back rates for clients that left and are coming back. So I'd love to kind of get your brain of strategy of thinking about client retention as a real revenue strategy or as a real strategy for us to actually consider in our own business, agency or non-agency, and what you're seeing in some of the playbooks that you love to run. Because in my
Mhm.
opinion, it's not just getting the clients that's exciting, it's keeping them happy and having them over the lifetime of the natural span of the service.
Yeah, it's such a great topic. And I think whatever business you're working in or running, it's relevant because you probably have clients if you're running a business, and we can't necessarily run away from clients. But the thing is that I see, especially in the agency world, is that there is such a focus on getting the client, right? Like you said, it's how much does it cost to get the client? What does the sales process look like? What are the, benefits? What are we selling them? Like, how are we getting them and how are we getting more customers? But the job of an account manager, and a seasoned account manager at that, is to take that client and hold their hand for a very long time and
Mm,
make sure that they're happy and make sure they stick around. But for agency owners, you have so many things that are going through your head on a daily, weekly basis. And making sure that every single client has been taken care of isn't always your top priority, or it can be frustrating because you might get an email from a client like, hey, where are we at with this project? And you're like, oh, shoot, I should have messaged them. Or, oh,
hmm. The
where are we at with
proactive.
that? The
Yeah.
proactive bit, right? And it's like, that is not your job as an account manager, or sorry, as an agency owner. That is an
Mm,
account manager's job. And I think oftentimes agency owners try and sit in that seat for a very long time because they think that the client hired the agency to work with them.
mm,
But in reality, you're not serving your clients the way they need to be served if you are the one in the middle and creating that bottleneck.
mm,
And so there's obviously strategies and tactics that you can have for retention.
hmm,
But at the end of the day, it shouldn't be the agency owner, in my opinion,
hmm.
doing the client retention piece. And even
No.
for my business, I don't work with my clients because I make sure that I have the team in place with my best practices and they are accountable for that, taking care of clients, making sure clients are happy at all times. And I know where we're at, but I'm not dealing with that every single day. So would love to dig into some tactics, but that's kind of my perspective.
So that was like a 30,000 foot view of reviewing. Okay, so you shouldn't be in charge of everything because we do a poor job. Like I'm pretty like, even like a handful of clients, 20 clients, 40 clients, you can't do it all. So being able to service them at the higher level. So again, a case for why we need account managers and doing that. But when you're working with teams or even you're looking at your own clients when it comes to that proactiveness, what are some of the things that you dive into? Because I think you're marrying the needs of the client. Like, here's what they need. Here's what they actually need. That's what they're saying. That's what they actually need. But then also the hidden of client happiness, like the late
Mm-hmm.
Tony Hsieh from Zappos, rest in peace, brother, focuses on client satisfaction as one of the key metrics and successes for any business. And it makes a lot of sense. Peter Drucker as well, the purpose of a business is to get a client and to keep them. This is the keeping part, like the second part of the
Mm-hmm.
business. So what are some of the things that you like to look at or create proactiveness in keeping clients both happy, but also meeting their needs?
Yeah. Yeah. So one of the biggest things that we look at is that proactive communication piece. So I think that the role of an account manager we see is not only to communicate to clients, but to be proactively communicating.
Mm,
So a number of years ago, I coined this term for our own team called the Daily Pulse, because I was
mm,
trying to explain to them, you should be communicating to your clients before they communicate to you. And it
mm,
doesn't matter if you don't have a full report or a full update to send them, they need to see you all over their account. And I
mm,
want this client to feel like they're the only client. And how can you do that? Like, how can you, as an account manager, make sure that every single client is taken care of every single day, and you know where their projects are at, and you know the last time you communicated with them, and you know where they're at? And I was like, just do it daily. Like, I don't care. Go into your project management software, put this task called the Daily Pulse, and I want to make sure that there's a pulse with this client every single day. And I know you're probably thinking, I don't want to talk to my clients every day. I think that's overkill. I don't need to send them a message every single day. But at the beginning of a relationship, especially onboarding, they need to hear from you. They need to know that you are all over their account and
mm,
that here's what's next. Here's what I'm waiting on. Here's what the team is working on. And here's what's next. Like, this is exactly what's going on. And for me, I have worked with so many different businesses in the past, literally one this week that was so frustrating that they were not getting back to me. I'm trying to get tenant insurance on my house. And this person, it's taken a month to get a quote.
uh,
And, like, you could have just emailed me and said, hey, I'm going to work on it on this day, but I'm having to chase this person every single day. And that's
it's
not
an
a good
open loop.
feeling,
Yeah. Open
right?
loop. And you fill that in with doubt, fear, uncertainty.
Exactly. It's a terrible experience. So I said, how can we flip this and be super proactive? So that's where the Daily Pulse comes in. And it's a methodology, it's a practice, it's a ritual. It's a, hey, do you know where your clients are at all times? And do they know what's coming next? And so that's like a small little takeaway for any agency owner or account manager, is to implement this into your business so that they feel they feel the love, right? They're paying you a lot of money and they are risking their business, time, energy, brand, everything to be working with your agency. So the more that you can proactively communicate with them, the better. And so some tools that we equip our team with are quick templates. Maybe it's, you don't have to have a full report, but maybe it's a, hey, Betty, just wanted to let you know that the video edits are on their way, still working towards that Friday deadline. You will hear from me. And following up on that and ensuring that your team knows what's next, clients know what's next, and having this visibility for the whole team. We use like client trackers and things like that. So if there's visibility for the internal team member, but also like most importantly, clients feel like they know what's going on in their account.
I love that. And one of the key pieces around the proactiveness of the communication isn't just to send a message for message sake. It's there's a few things that I thought about while you were saying this is perhaps the work that you're doing is going to take maybe 2 weeks to do, but you can't be in there every single day. Having a team member, having that daily pulse with them, showing up every day and say, hey, here's what we're doing, even though it might be the same thing, or here's like the progress we made today on that one thing, makes it feel like you're doing more than you actually are. Not in a way to get to be faking it or to be doing less work, but it's a good way for you to feel comfortable. If you're just focusing on one big task right now and you're like, oh, I don't have any new updates, or it's moving slowly, having that proactive update may make that task amplified, and the importance of your role either as a service provider or as a vendor or as a client or as a strategic partner be very important for the end user. In the same story, I've hired I think it was like a program, like a coaching program or some sort of thing, but it was not cheap. And then it was super exciting. The onboarding was great. The onboarding quiz was great. The onboarding call was exciting. And then they dropped me off a cliff for a month. I'm like, what's going on? And I'm
Right.
like, this has no, it doesn't make sense. And then they've added me to a community, and then the community was like an upsell, like not an upsell, but like a very like, oh, this is a super cool community, like an upsell, like not an upsell, but like a very like, oh, this is a super cool community. This is probably going to be like more than what you've paid for, et cetera, et cetera. The community was a ghost town. I'm like, no one's updating, no one's doing anything. So I'm here. So like, did I make the right decisions? Like, clearly I made the wrong decision. And we got to, thankfully they had a clause to exit before you work with them. But that, I mean, that significant. I don't even know, their product could have been great. Their product could have been
Wow.
phenomenal, top class. Just the experience they gave of not having if I had a pulse every day, hey, we're doing, out of the 60 questions you answered, we're on question 2 today. I don't care. That's a great update for me to feel like they're actually doing it and putting the narrative in my mind versus me creating a narrative and then making a decision. It's like, hey, we're actually not going to work together because of this
Yeah.
experience.
Yes, and that happens so much. And I speak with a lot of agency owners and coaches, and they always come back to this. It's experience over results and communication over results. We sometimes forget that there's a human on the other side of this
Mhm.
computer and that people they have baggage when they come to work with your agency. They have
Been burned
experiences.
before. Yep.
Most clients have been burned, right? And so they have this expectation. Like they're like, okay, the onboarding's good, but let's see how this goes. And so I always use this terminology, I guess you could call it, with my team is cover your tracks. Like make sure that every step of the way you can always come back and feel confident in what you're doing. And
Mm.
that starts with the pulses, with the updates, with the you know where the client's at every single day. Because if you feel confident that you're doing everything you can to serve this client, then that is the best thing that you can do. And building trust, so important. That is story that you just told, like they were like getting you going, they were like building that trust, and then it was
And the
gone in a
excitement too.
flash. Yeah.
And
And
then
how
after,
quick did that go, right? And so like keeping that trust is the hardest part. And I think that's where an account manager or somebody in this role is so important because
Mhm.
you can't drop off for a month. That doesn't work. Imagine having an employee that you pay every day and they don't show up for work until next month. That's not efficient. I don't feel good about that. And it's the same thing when you hire an agency. You want to feel like this person is literally clocking in every day working on your account. And we know it's not true,
Yeah.
but we want to show that we're literally like, we're working on your account and here are the steps so that you always have those footprints in the snow behind you of exactly what you've done.
100%. It sounds counterintuitive of experience over results. It's not to dismiss the results, but I think you are right. The experience amplifies the type of result that you get. Even if it's, let's say, a 7.5 out of 10, because that's what your team's capable of doing because of the experience plus whatever the 7.5 could be a 10 out of 10 experience. And the
Exactly.
results like, oh, I loved it because of the experience. It's like going to like, you can have an average ride and you can do it in your backyard, like a slip and slide or something, but you take that slip and put it in Disneyland somehow or some way, your experience is way more elevated. At least that's what my wife thinks. Um, I think let's do a live strategy here. One of the things that I talk about when it comes to creating and crafting retention is to outline the client journey, outline from onboarding to getting into the project, getting into the scoping. And then I always call it the scope within the scope. There's what the client thinks that they need. It's what you think that they need. And then you actually do some research like, oh crap, this is what you actually need. So there's always that. But then there's a fulfillment and execution. And then there's a maintenance period. When you outline the customer or the client journey that way, one of the things that I like to do is I identify where can I design peak moments, peak experiences, and how do I intentionally work backwards so that my team hits on that and delivers and delights the client while getting results. I kind of want to work on that framework with you here. Like when I say that, what do you think and what are you seeing that you've not only experienced but made work with clients?
I'm very aligned. Exactly kind of what you were saying is like mapping out a journey, finding where we need to surprise and delight them. Obviously, we want it to be like every day, but there's going to be big wins, big moments that we want to make sure are pre-mapped out. So when we look at this, we say, okay, there's a sales process. Generally, there's a sales team or a salesperson promising the client all these things. And then we're the ones on the other side who have to deliver that. So ensuring that we can sneak our way into that sales process in some capacity. So maybe that's popping into a call, being CC'd on an email, making sure that we understand what the scope is and that the client knows, hey, I'm Taylor, I'm going to be working with you. So ensuring that handover happens is really important. So that's kind of a milestone. And then we always look at with our own clients, we have 30, 60, 90-day strategies. And what we're doing is we're saying, okay, when this person first came to us, what were their pain points? Have those changed since they've decided to work with us? And then really asking them again, okay, what are the pain points? Because those we're going to brush off some dust here and figure out what is it that's actually happening here in the account and understanding what these 3 to 5 KPIs are that we can hit and making sure that this is kind of mapped out 30, 60, 90 days. And then, of course, within the first 30 to 60 days, you're crushing it. Like clients are like, wow, this experience is awesome. I feel the love. I'm getting results. Things are set up. My ads are running. And then that's when you're going to surprise and delight them. So maybe that's a custom gift. And I'm not talking a gift basket. I'm talking like I met with one of our agency clients this morning, actually. We were podcasting and he was like, yeah, on Tuesday, I work from a cigar shop. We were like, what? That's so cool. He's like, yeah, my account manager from Dot & Co actually sent me like this really cool cigar gift. And we were like, oh, good one. Like
Nice.
things like that, right? Like how can you surprise and delight them in a really unique way? And then obviously you're going to ask for, I don't want to say ask for a testimonial, but there's going to be this point in the journey where they're super happy, you're feeling it, and you're like, hey, could we like ask you a few questions about your experience and get that story from the customer? And then, of course, we don't want this to just trickle off and that the customers, oh, like we got results the first 90 days and then what? We want to continuously have like expectations of the client. Okay, every month, the first Monday of every month, I'm going to send you a report and I'd love to walk you through it. Don't want to take too much of your time. Let's book 15 minutes every Tuesday, first Tuesday of every month, and we'll jump on and we'll chat. That is your time, right? You want to keep that relationship up, make sure they know what you're doing. And so that maintenance mode never feels like maintenance mode, that you're continuously building that relationship. And I think every agency is different. Every service is different. Some are project based, some are retainer based, but always ensuring that you are client first. Like you are trying to find ways to keep that relationship going, making sure that they feel super supported and giving them a space to just ask you questions, talk about strategy, see what the results are with their campaigns, and just get down and dirty with the client sometimes, right? Give them that opportunity, don't just brush them off. And I think that for agencies that don't have an account manager or don't have somebody in this role, it gets tricky because you are managing a million things, like we said at the beginning of this show.
Yeah.
If you don't have somebody who is specialized in ensuring that client experience is 5-star, it will die off, and that's not a good experience, and then clients leave. So I think just like having the journey, obviously the first 60 to 90 days is the most important, but then
Yeah.
also having a journey for that specific client afterwards, because every client's different, every service is different, every agency is different. But really, like, as an account manager, sitting down and saying, okay, what do I want for this client, like long term, how can I facilitate that and meet their needs? So I think it's pretty custom after that.
No, I love that. And the fact that you're not just doing surface level research, but actually knowing who your clients are. I mean, the cigar shop, that's a pretty cool example. But even beyond that, identifying new goals and new expectations. And that creates excitement. It's not, oh, it's the same mundane thing. It's like, hey, this is a new thing that we're trying to achieve. And it always feels like progress. I remember I've been in the agency world, I don't even know how long, but I remember some of the clients that we work with, the best clients would always ask, okay, what's next? And they're always for like, what's next? What's next? What's next? And if the forward thinking, I mean, they're amazing to work with. They're fun to work with. They're go getters. And it also you got to put your game on, like your game hat on. Okay, what is next? Ensuring that you always have that answer. I'm curious to know, are there positions? Because I mean, right now we're talking about account managers as one very specific function in an agency. I've seen and have design agencies that kind of model the account manager, but also include strategy or our directors and have that client relationship as well with the support of maybe of a project manager. I'm curious to get your thoughts about the core functions of an account manager. And in this case, it's a client relationship manager / project manager / communication. It's a very unique role. I would love to get your thoughts around, can an existing person who is client facing and client relationship adapt to or learn from and integrate an account managers within their current function? Let's say they're setting strategy or they're the client relationship manager. I'd love to know, is it a unique function or can existing functions add these specific action items on their plate?
I love that question. I would say sometimes. And it depends on the person, it depends on their skill sets.
Hmm.
So oftentimes I will meet with agencies that have really killer web developers or
Hmm.
really awesome media strategists, and they might be really good at building and running Facebook ads. And they can speak strategy, but when it comes to everything else, like the 80% of actually building the relationship and project management and delegating and task management, they're not as
They're not
strong
that
as.
good. Yeah. It's interesting. It's
But
such
some
a
are.
rarity. Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
rarity
like
in my
some
opinion.
are. So it depends on the person, I would say. It's not
Yeah.
necessarily a job title. It's not necessarily like every account director is also an account manager or every strategist
Mm.
is also an account manager. It doesn't always work out that way, right? So you want to make sure that the skill set reflects the role and the responsibilities reflect that as well. So sometimes there might be an account director who also is an account manager, and we sometimes sit in that role as well. But I would say it really just depends on the agency, the clients, the scope, like all the things that are going into it, and making sure that this person has the time and energy to, and the skill sets to properly manage the clients the way they need to be managed and
Mm.
do strategy or and run Facebook ads. I mean, you and I probably have done these things where we are doing sales and
We
we're doing
happen to
account
do that.
management.
Yeah. Like you
Yeah.
can't see my feet typing down here, but
Yeah. Writing blog posts as we
writing
go.
blog posts at the same time.
Yeah, like we do it. And we probably say we do a great job, but maybe someone could do a better job. But it kind
Mm.
of just depends on your skill set and your passions. Like, we're those people who love talking to clients and get energized by a client meeting, where a lot of media buyers would rather sit behind their desk and look up the best tactics and write copy and
For
get in the
strategists, yeah.
data.
Mm.
Like that's their skill set, and they really dread client meetings. So it kind of depends.
Would an account manager also be a project manager, or is it vice versa? So it is similar to that then.
Yes. So our account managers are generally always project managers as well. When I first started the agency and I was like, okay, I'm an account manager. And then you can upgrade and I can do project management. And I was like, very quickly realized that no, like I need to know where the project's at so I can properly manage my clients. Maybe it's a control freak thing, but I needed to make sure that I knew where all the projects were at and I was managing that so that when I'm doing a daily pulse or I'm on a call with a client, they're
Oh
like,
yeah,
hey,
that's way
like,
easier.
I'm just like, I know where it's all at and I can do it. So we do look for those unicorns who are good at both. But in like really big agencies, for example, they often have a project manager and an account manager, but sometimes there's kind of that overlap. I've worked in agencies where I was the account manager, there was a project manager, and it didn't work out.
It's a split mind. It's a split. It's like, I mean, I'm not a really big believer in right brain, left brain. I believe that you are whatever you can choose. Is
Mhm.
my some of it is true, right? There is the talent, but that's besides the point. I was doing both too, and I felt it. Maybe a better analogy is that there's two languages. So I speak two languages, right? And the brain tries to kill the other language, and the one is a dominant language. That's just a natural thing. It's really interesting. It's really weird. But I was doing that same similar thing: strategy, client relationship, and then also supporting on project management or project support when I was a COO in agencies. And you lean towards one or the other. In the beginning, I was okay, cool, I'll do the account management, like owning everything. But as I moved up the ranks and then moved comfortable with strategy and got way more responsibility, I just love the thinking and the strategy and the artwork and the creation and then all that other stuff. Like, oh my gosh, it's like a competing dichotomy. So I kind of understand from first person experience around that. So it's pretty interesting. And account managers, so similar to project managers, focusing and supporting the entire ship moving forward and ensuring that everything is shipped on time. What do you think is, I mean, I think the average that I've seen depends on clients, like the workload is they can handle anywhere from 8 to 15 accounts, depending on the workload. Or is that too high? Is that too low? What have you seen?
Yeah, that's probably the most asked question for us. And so we actually looked at our team and we said, okay, guys, like you guys are working the same amount of hours. How many clients are you working with versus you? One was 3, one was 18.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So
And
it's depending on the person.
it's depending on the clients and the scope.
Mm-hmm.
And it depend like one might be super high touch celebrity clients
Mm-hmm.
and they're like so many meetings, so much creative, so much going on versus another's like lead gen lawyers, they don't have meetings, they're just like sending reports and emails and things like that. Very different. So
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't even like I wish I had this like secret sauce, but we actually look more at the whole approach. So we're looking at client meetings, internal meetings, number of clients. How many clients are you onboarding every month? How many clients are you offboarding every month? How many
All these
sales calls are
factors.
you having? There's so many factors that go into it that it's like building a house. It's not just like it's going to cost X. It's do you want this or 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 how
I
many rooms
remember
do you
that
want? How many
experience.
bathrooms?
And then you
Right? And
want
it's
those
like,
things like, oh, here's an extra little kick in your
yes,
mortgage.
exactly. So it's a little complicated, but we work through that with agencies to say, okay, like this is kind of where you're at. This is generally how much time it should take, how many clients you should manage, that kind of thing.
It's by design. I think that's the key. That's the key. It's around design. It's the competency of the person, the scope of the client, the demands of the client. And I completely agree. It's a difficult variable. In the beginning of our conversation, you mentioned again going back to one thing that you were passionate around, that is the account management. And then I want to dissect this and also open it up to what else you're doing is you focused on the talent that you had. You have a passion behind that, but you didn't do it alone. You found others who were just as passionate and even as, or even more talented, right? And when you do that, you're able to considerably increase the amount of impact that you can do. I think right now it's popular to be a solopreneur. I think that's cool, but it's also limiting in terms of how much you can add value, specifically, especially because you found others. And like you mentioned, it was like a team of 30 or 30 plus and growing, right? I know that you're doing this for clients, but how are you creating community or adding value back to that particular function who may not have their own mastermind, who may not have the love from the
Mm.
marketplace? There's places for executives to go, COOs to go, like all these other marketing people to go. But where do people with account management skill sets and go?
Yeah, I love that because it's a lonely world out there, especially in remote work, especially when you're client facing. You're sometimes taking the hard conversations and you're the one who has to get back to the client. You're responsible for a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And we realized that the reason that our team was so successful is because we had each other. We
Mm-hmm.
had the team where we could say, hey guys, like I have this really difficult client, like I need your help. And we had that support system, but so many other account managers didn't have that and they don't have that. And so that's where we built this community called CAM community, client account manager community. And it's that it's a place for only account managers to go and get support, get help, get resources, get tools, but have a community of people they can bounce ideas off of. So every
Hmm.
single day there's questions like, hey, like I'm looking for this SOP for this random thing to help my agency owners. Anyone have any help? Like, can anyone help me?
Hmm.
Absolutely. Use this as a starting point. Like, here's the tools, or I'm having this difficult conversation. Great, let's chat about that. Let's help you because it is lonely. And we realized that we wanted to be able to help other account managers to up level their skills and their career and help the agencies that they work in. So that kind of blossomed into this whole other community, not just serving agencies, which I'm super passionate about that side, helping the agency owner get out of the day to day because I've been able to do that and it's pretty sweet. So I'm passionate about that, but I'm also passionate about giving account managers a hand to hold as well.
Hmm.
So, we kind of have both, right? We have a space for community, for account managers, but we also have a space to help agency owners.
I think that's key. And I think that's one of the interesting pieces as I see services and agencies evolve is that it's not just the service that you provide, it's the either information you package, the net new value, but also the community and carving that niche out in your marketplace. Now that a lot of new tools will evolve to do a lot of the work and enhance human potential, but I think that we still will need each other to move forward. But man, Taylor, this was an exciting conversation. For our listeners out there, what's the best place for people to, one, go to thank you for being on, and two, learn a little bit more about you?
Wow, that's the first time anyone said go thank her. I love that. You can find us over at dotandcompany.co. So everything's over there. Our socials, our podcast, our contact. Find us over there and definitely connect. Would love to see some people inside the community or reaching out for help. We're here to help. So just ask.
Wonderful. We'll put that link in the show notes. Taylor, thank you again. If you found value in today's podcast, please consider sharing this with someone that you believe could also benefit from this episode. You never know, you may be the catalyst that opens them up to a new way of operating their business and experiencing life. As always, it's an honor to be a small part of your journey. This is Raul Hernandez. Do good work.